Good evening. Welcome to the City Commission Final Budget Continued Meeting, September 30th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Calling this meeting to order, starting with the invocation from Pastor Mulberry and Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Davis.
Good evening, everyone. Father, again, thank you for this day. We thank you for how good you've been all day long. We thank you because you brought us together once again for another meeting. We pray, God, that your hand will be upon us to give wisdom and guidance in everything we do. We pray, God, that you will have your way in this budget meeting. God, that you will let your will be done and let your kingdom come. We thank you in advance. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Davis, present. Commissioner Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Bora.
Present.
Present. All here, and we have quorum. I'm going to open the floor up to public comments for any items not specifically listed on the agenda. Is there anybody here for public comments for general items? Seeing no public comments, we're going to move on to public hearings. The second, adopting of the millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2025-2026. Introduction to public hearing for City of Palatka fiscal year 2025-2026 final millage and budget. The Palatka City Commission convenes the final public hearing on the City of Palatka fiscal year 2025-2026 millage rates and final budget as required by Florida statutes chapter 129 and 200 and as advertised in the Truth and Millage trim notices. If anyone in our audience is here for the purpose of contesting their assessment, a petition for adjustment with the Value Adjustment Board needed to have been filed by 5 p.m. Wednesday, September 9, 2025, as stated in the trim notices sent via first-class mail by the county's property appraiser to every taxpayer on the property value assessment roll. For those in attendance this evening wishing to address the Commission's citizens' comments will be taken following the overview of the final budget by the Finance Director. The Finance Director, Chantel Pierre, will now present an explanation of the proposed and rollback millage rates.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Mayor and Commission, this evening, we will take a few actions related to the adoption of the proposed millage rate and budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026. Tonight's hearing is a continuation of the second public hearing required to be held per Florida statutes prior to the adoption of the final millage rate and budget by a taxing authority. As such, this is the final budget hearing and a final adoption of the millage rates and budgets will be considered tonight. Florida statutes requires the name of the taxing authority, the millage rate to be levied, the rollback rate, and the percentage change over rollback rate be publicly announced. In addition, one of the requirements of the Truth in Millage legislation is to provide information about why proposed millage rates differ from the rollback millage rates. Rollback millage rate is defined as the millage rate which, exclusive of new construction, additions to structure, deletions, and property added due to geographic boundary changes, will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue for each taxing authority as was levied during the prior year. The trim process requires that a notice of tax increase be advertised when the current year proposed aggregate millage rate exceeds the calculated aggregate rollback millage rate. The aggregate rollback millage rate is calculated by dividing the prior year adjusted property tax revenue by the current year taxable property value multiplied by 1,000. The current year taxable value does not include new construction and tax increment CRA values. For the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget, the aggregate proposed operating millage for the city of Palatka is 6.2397 mils, which is the same as the rollback rate of 6.2397 mils. The increase in property tax revenue, this is not an increase. This is no changes in property tax at all. Just want to make note of that. This is inclusive of personnel costs, operating costs, capital expenses, as well as grant matches. Mayor and Commission, the total final budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026 is $85,592,317. I'm happy to answer any questions pertaining to the changes or on the budget before you currently.
Are there any questions for the members of the commission?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Based on the conversation that we had in our last meeting with regards to this particular rollback rate, that there would be a decrease in the amount of taxes that are paid, correct? But in the statement that you made, that is no change. I just want to make sure that there's clarity with regards to when you made the statement closer to the part where there was the increase in property tax revenue. I just want to make sure that
There is no increase in property tax revenue. We're using the same millage rate as last year. Well, equivalent to last year, which is the 6.2397 mils, which means there's a 0% change in property tax. So we're collecting the same amount that we collected last year, if that makes sense.
However, there is a decrease in the ad valorem revenues compared to the budget that we had last time we met.
I
So-
think that's what I wanted to.
That's what I know you
that-
want to understand, that we did decrease the ad valorem revenue by 118,567.
Correct.
That is the decrease from the 6.4 rate to the 6.2397.
Commissioner Davis.
So for no change to occur based on expected revenue with the rollback rate, where did the additional $118,567 come from?
We reduced, I'm just gonna go line by line.
I'll answer it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the change, if I may,
Go ahead.
the change came from decreasing as we decreased the ad valorem revenue by that 118,567, we still had to maintain or try to maintain the integrity of the general fund and not impact or decrease various departments. We were able to achieve that by increasing the transfer from Better Place Fund to the general fund. So that's where it came from, a decrease of stormwater. We decreased stormwater expenses, which we had not spent in the prior year. Prior year, we had a budget of 150,000. This year, we were able, even with the decrease, to have 483,000 to spend in stormwater. So that is where we decreased that stormwater account.
Further questions? Commissioner Borum.
Yeah, well, my understanding would be if we were gonna keep it flat, the 6.4 flat, that would have been an increase based on the property values. The property value would have given us an additional $118,000 plus dollars.
Yeah, correct.
But the fact that the 6.2 XXX, the rollback rate produced the same amount as what our last year's budget. The rollback would have produced the same budget as last year, the last fiscal year. So therefore, we wouldn't have increased or we didn't lose anything. So basically it's basically kind of like an offset per se. So I think that's where with the 6.2, whatever, we're going back to the same, what we had last year. So there's no, the property values was the difference.
Exactly. So what the rollback rate does is even though property value increased, it takes us back to receive the, I don't know how to say it, pro-rational amount or something like that.
Correct?
Yeah, so the rollback rate, you receive the amount that you would have received. Because given that the property tax value has increased.
We would have got $118,000
Right,
plus dollars more.
Right, so the rollback rate takes us to a zero change.
Correct.
Okay, so that's what we did. So now by us going back to the rollback rate, we did not increase our property tax for our citizens.
Correct. It's the flat.
Yes, sir.
And taking the funds from the Better Place, putting them in the general fund, you did explain where that money was coming from, and that won't
Yes.
have a negative impact for us. We feel confident that that's not going to have a negative impact.
It will not. It maintained the integrity of both funds.
And it's an allowable use of the Better Place fund.
Yes, mhm, yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, my only thing I got to comment, but it should have, we should have not had to touch anything. In my, that's just my opinion on that, but I'm just saying if we produce the same thing as we did last year, we shouldn't have to take monies from no other fund to balance it. I mean, I'll have to probably sit on the side with you guys and help me
Right,
understand
yes,
that better.
sir. We'll be more than happy
Okay.
to sit with you.
Any other questions? You got any questions, Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Davis?
So I know we talked about starting this budgeting process earlier for the upcoming year. One of the things I'm disappointed. Let me just say that. I'm disappointed that a lot of work was done and that we got down to our second vote to determine that we needed to do something differently. It may be the right thing to do, it may not, but I think timeliness is important because of the work that it requires to do this work at the last minute. And so I just want to be on the record for saying that I do believe that our residents need a perceived win. I'm still trying to process what that looks like. If it's having a rollback rate, so be it. But again, I'm disappointed in the timeliness that we chose to address this. And if there are concerns, I hope that we can bring those up sooner and make sure we understand. The other thing I want to make sure is that when this is communicated to the public, that we clearly communicate what is occurring, what has occurred, and why it has occurred. One of the things I see continuously in comments is confusion. And I think we have to look at that when we're weighing comments from the public, because it still seems to be some confusion with our constituents between city taxes, county taxes, school board taxes, what the city is responsible for, how it impacts them. So I do hope we have the opportunity to clearly communicate, whether that is in the local newspaper, on our city website, and anywhere we can. Because the one lesson I get from all of this is that education is important. And we can only educate as much as people will read that information, but it is critical that we produce clear and accurate and a reasonable explanation of what these taxes are and what they represent. So I just want to have that on the record. Thank you.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I agree with Commissioner Davis on the latter part, but I don't know if he was on the call at the time where we had the discussion with regards to the rollback. There was there was a little bit of discussion that took place that it wasn't thoroughly explained in the manner that we got it when we had that brief conversation. So I think that's where it came in. But I'm in total agreement with bringing the budget, and that was gonna be one of the statements that I made during commissioner comments, that we go ahead and set when we want to have it come back before the commission so that we can start the process, so that there's no room for when you think it should be brought before us and when it needs to be brought before us. So I want that to be a decision that we collectively make as we move forward, so that we won't find ourselves in this position before. And I think Ms. Pierre has committed several times, every time she stand up there, to make sure that this process moving forward would be a reflection of what the commission desires. So I want to make sure that she has the direction prior to us leaving here today as we move forward.
I also mentioned at the last meeting that I think it's very important, once we have these workshop dates, that we make every effort to attend, unless of course there's an illness or family crisis, but that's a commitment we all need to make, because that didn't happen. We were not everybody was able to attend all of them, and I think that's when we have to iron out these things and not wait till the 11th hour as we have again. And I think the whole process is confusing if some folks in the commission didn't have an understanding of the difference between the rollback rate and the millage rate of 6 point, what happened there, then that, if we're confused, then certainly the community, it's not clear to the community, and we are paying multiple entities taxes, including St. John's Water Management District as well as the others mentioned. So yeah, any clarification would be helpful, I think, for folks. Education is key.
And Mayor, if I may, I think one of the confusions, and I'm gonna say this, is a lot of times the headlines or the comments that are made with Palatka Daily News can cause a lot of confusion, because a lot of people do not subscribe to the Palatka Daily News. So they're feeding off of that little insert that could possibly be taken into, that can be taken wrong. So I think as we begin to put things out there, that I say it all the time, that we do it in a campaign manner to make sure that it's one thing to provide the education, but it's another thing to make sure that people are actually utilizing or reading the information that we're put out there. So I think that's probably one of the major disconnects, is a lot of people don't subscribe and they are only going by what they see instead of reading the articles, or they're feeding off of other comments that are made.
Any other comments or questions?
I have one there.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
As Commissioner Davis mentioned about the perceived savings that were given, and Commissioner Campbell tagged on it for clarity. And as you guys just explained it, it seemed like a little twist even tonight, as far as where the money is actually, where the savings actually is coming from. And it didn't appear to be a savings. It appears to be we took money from a better place. That's what you said, right, Ms. Carney? So the money, the overage is coming from better place. We didn't say, unless I'm perceiving it wrong. Is that the same as this board? As we just was explaining this? I need to know, because if I'm no longer feeling this way, I need a special education session on the budget, because that did not appear to be what our goal was, as far as being able to, I know we gave direction early on. We could say we waited till the 12th hour, but we gave some direction from those dais early on, and Commissioner Bourne, mentioned it. He had documentation about some of the cuts that we were looking to be made, and it was pushed back to us to make the cuts after giving directive. But we're here now, and we wanted to make it clear that We wasn't at a 7%, 7 mil. We're not at the 6.4. We are at the rollback. Rollback should reflect some savings to our constituents who pays the taxes, not only city, water management, school district, county. And so we wanted to give them a reprieve as well, because our constituents are getting taxed to death. So we made that clear early on. We wouldn't be here tonight on a continuance of something that we did meet 5 other times on. So I wanted to say that because it appears that we hadn't been doing what we needed to on this dice, but we have given those directions. So again, the perception, I really need feedback from this commission to tell me if I'm right, or I'm gonna leave here tonight feeling the same way I felt the other night.
Does anybody want to respond or have any comments?
In terms of just not knowing, in terms of not for sure. Like the direction or.
The true say, well, all of it, basically.
Well, here-
but
but here's
what I was, what I'm clarifying, what I'm trying to clarify is, we said that the money came from the savings that the 118.5,
5 change.
yeah, came from Better Place.
Right, and that's because Better Place, already is budgeted to transfer funds into the general fund. Better Place is already budgeted that way. So when I looked at, or we looked at all of the funds, we looked at general fund. And we also, because that revenue is in general fund, so we could have reduced general fund, one of the departmental expenses, or we can also look at revenue streams that finance the general fund. One of the revenue streams are in fact transfers from Better Place. So in reviewing Better Place, you can see there were items that were funded or budgeted in the prior year. We didn't even spend $1. So stormwater was one of those items. And this year, for this budget, initially, it was budgeted for 600,000. So that would be the automatic, in that particular analysis, that would be an option to say, okay, we didn't spend anything anyway. We are trying to begin spending in stormwater. And so that is where that transfer came from. But that is a natural transfer that is already in place.
It was easy. But when we say, let's examine these budget requests and the funding, there are some areas that we had areas of opportunity where we could actually have made some cuts that concerned some commissioners up here, that we kind of say, hey, can we look at this? Why are we putting money here? And why is it being requested? And we had questions on it that never was answered, Ms. Coffey. So I wanted that to be brought up, because later on in a few months, we're gonna do some hires, we're gonna do some purchases, and we're gonna wonder where that money came from. Just wanted to say it. Go ahead.
Commissioner Davis, go ahead.
So I just want to take a different approach here. Throughout this budgeting process, and I hope I don't oversimplify what I'm about to say. As the new commissioner, when the information was presented, it seemed very black and white to me. So our process, generally speaking, was we asked our departments to submit their requests. We took all the requests in, they justified, we reviewed them. That was considered, and this is my understanding, so if there are areas I'm speaking that's not correct, please correct me. That information was taken in for the basis of creating the draft budget.
Correct.
We had several iterations of that, but at some point we had the departments come in, and after that point, their requests were considered in the draft budget. We reviewed it, had some negotiations back and forth, had opportunity to disagree, provide input, see what needed to change. Some changes were made. I think we all had the ability and opportunity to provide that input. When that input was given, finance came back with a number of projected expenses based on that draft. In order to meet those projected expenses, recommendations were made, and we had several options. One was a 7% mill.
7 mills.
That's correct.
Seven.
I'm sorry, I keep saying percent. 7 mills, correct. I think there was a 6 point something, 6.4,
6.8.
and then the rollback rate. I just remember seeing those options. I also understand that part of the process is for the temporary mill rate to be set, whatever number that is we came up with, it's the maximum that it could be. But we have the opportunity based on further budget workshops and decisions we made to lower, but that is the max it would be. I intentionally and deliberately made the motion for it to be 7 at that point. Not that I thought it would be, or I would have voted for it to be permanently, but because the finance team came with a recommendation and that gave them opportunity to go back based on our feedback, tweak, knowing that our goal was never to have an increased, and I'm gonna put an asterisk by increased, an increased mill rate. My understanding is 6.4 would be the current, I'm sorry, the mill rate for today. Rollback was this 6.2, blah, blah, which means, and again, this is where I hope I'm not oversimplifying. And I understood that rollback rate, but to be the rate that would generate revenue equal to what was generated in the current year.
Correct.
That's my understanding. To that,
Okay.
to oversimplifying, I do know because I don't want to get in the weeds yet. Based on that information, I went and looked at the last draft budget to make sure it was in line with the discussion we had as I understood it. That I can only speak for what I understood, and I saw that it was in line. So to that point, when I look at the first meeting where we were to consider voting on the permanent rate, 6.4 to me seemed reasonable based on the decisions we had, the discussions, and where we landed. While technically it would result in an increase because of a point in time, I do want to say that. Not because we're saying to increase it, a point in time. Nothing is time is not static. And so we're going into 2025, 2026. There are some increases in costs of some things. There are some things we want to do differently. In my mind, taking all of that into consideration and considering the difference between the rollback rate and 6.4, yes, it is $118,000 in ad valorem taxes to the city. Relatively speaking, that is a small amount, especially when you consider it in relation to the savings for tax-paying homeowners, which was, if I'm not mistaken, approximately $20-something,
$29.
$29 for the year for a
A
homeowner.
soda a month.
So I'm taking that to say I took all of that into perspective and clearly and intentionally voted for the 6.4. And I get that. And when I mentioned earlier about our citizens having a win, and it may be, I don't want to minimize anything here. Any decrease, I don't want to minimize. But $29 per year per homeowner at a cost to the city for $118,000. And I believe we did great due diligence in prioritizing what needed to be done and made cuts in some places and increases in others. I believe we listened to our department heads and considered the work they needed to do. I believe we made a good decision. And so that's where I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to be clear about this because there's so much confusion surrounding it. The bottom line is I want to say, being a novice commissioner, based on what was explained by finance, the information provided to me, I believe I clearly understood the impact of rollback versus 6.4 versus these budgets we had opportunity to review and provide feedback on. I personally believe we had all the information needed. And again, I can only speak for myself on what I requested in the conversation I had. So I do want to just offer that perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Borum.
Yeah, well, when we talk about the overall cumulative impact of what started last year, Commissioner Jones had led that effort with trying to get somewhat of a reduction last year with the fire feeding dead, 2.46 on the fire side and down to 2.43. That resulted in just that little quick one resulted in $79,000, which is not a lot of money, but at the same time, it produced almost $20 difference on each individual's taxes. Compiled with this year, so you got 79,000 last year. Then this year, if you get the 118,000, you're up to 197. So that's 200,000 in 2 years. So then there's another, and I asked the finance group to be very, very creative in the way that we can look at a number of things. And we came up with another 700 and some $1,000 at one point, but it kind of dropped down to a little bit less than that. So we had various ways that we could provide some form of relief, not just only ad valorem side of the house, but through other things. We just learned that some of the projects that was in the Better Place plan had not been activated in some time. So constantly having that money tied up or whatever, we can do something better with those funds if they're not already allocated and dedicated to those projects. Again, here was another 500 and some $1,000 that we got. And then there's other things that Ms. Carter and I spoke about on numerous occasions that we have some options that we could provide some relief. So I know it may look like the 11,000, but I've been working on this thing for well over 8 or 9 months. And again, so it didn't come to fruition during that time period, but now we're able to see some of it and we might get additional once the new year started based on the creativity that went into this new little thing that we just had a meeting the other day. So again, I want to, if I can possibly provide any savings to any taxpayer, as long as we're not reducing services or losing staff, that's a win for everybody. And so that's my aim, is no aim to cut services, no aim to cut staff. But at the same time, if there's some areas where we can provide relief to people who are the taxpayers, who you look at some of those tax bills, and I've seen it and I've sent those things in. People taxes on the fire side, you gotta look at it, analyze that stuff. It's pretty high because it's going on the assessed value. It's not going on where you get relief on the homestead side where you get exemptions. And so that's what we got to understand about how this tax and stuff work.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Yes, I was just gonna say, with the 118,000, we will be providing at least $29.75. Reduction to each taxable parcel. Also, Commissioner Borm is correct, and Jones, that we have met on several occasions, and Davis and Campbell, we have met. And finance is going to be a lot more communicative and creative with trying to find ways to reduce, what our taxpayers are experiencing. We have been working very closely with Mr. Lawson. And so we'll hopefully implement some of that with the next budget year, but also in this budget year, we'll look at items that we're not spending, as much as we would like, and hopefully we can come back and bring some alternatives to the commissioner. So we'll make sure that not only that is sent to you, but that we also have an opportunity in this setting to discuss it better.
I want to make sure that we level set our roles and responsibilities as well. I can't imagine, I've never been a city manager or finance director of a municipality. However, I do know that as my fellow commissioners have said, they've met and requested information, requested things to occur. No one, and I may be stating the obvious, but again, part of this, I'm looking to be corrected if I'm off base. No one commissioner comes to tell you what to do. I know, please just listen to me first, Ms. Carty. That's not our jobs, that's not our role, and we don't have that level of authority. We do come and provide feedback as it sounds like has occurred. But I want to be clear that for any department head, you have the expertise. Yes, consider the request, provide the information requested, but we need recommendations, rationale, and if we disagree, we need to clearly understand the consequences of the decisions that we potentially may make. And what I do here, I believe, is that based on some of the requests, we have not received all of that. And there have been instances where we made decisions based on what we think you've given us or not given us, where we don't understand the consequences. So what I'm saying is there may be an opportunity that when you hear us asking questions from our perspective, dealing with constituents, knowing the role we have, making sure we can translate that information to you so we can make good decisions for our citizens and our city. I hope that you hear that we're looking for empowerment from our staff to at least provide information that may include, in some cases, a consequence. Commissioners, I hear you. Just understand this is the impact. And I think that would help us all tremendously because you guys are the experts. We're trying to marry the two. So I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
Mayor, I think the commentary that has transpired has definitely been beneficial, but I want us to be mindful of the portion of the script that we're on was more so if we had questions. And I think we've been providing direction. And I think so
Yeah,
I do believe that
it's
if
time
we
to move on to the.
get back to the point of why we're here, and it's the 6.2 XXX, and then we will be able to provide them the direction that we desire. But I just don't want us to lose so much. I don't want us to lose focus of why we're here, but then we can think of a game plan of how we want to move forward.
And with that said, I will now like to invite citizens to comment on the fiscal year 2025-2026 proposed millage rates and final budget. Please come forward to the podium if you wish to address the commission. Fill out a yellow speaker card that can be found in the back of the room. Ms. Kitchens.
Allegra Kitchens, Palatka, Florida. First of all, it's to the 11th hour. Kudos. Better late than never. As a citizen, I don't do too badly. Right now, I'm working at a part-time job. I'm getting $40 a week, and it will last till to the end of October. Then I'm going to be scrambling. It sounds like not much to you guys, but it's a lot to me. I have had neighbors and friends, and still have neighbors and friends. $29 a month is 2 or 3 prescriptions. They go without their heart medication because they can't afford it at $10. That $29 means nothing to people that get a lot of money, but for people on a fixed income, that $29 is their life. So it means a lot. When the millage goes up, their taxes go up. When the millage stays the same at 6.4, when the assessed value goes up as required by law, then the taxes go up because the assessed value went up. The rollback helps when the assessed value goes up and you do the rollback, then the taxes don't increase. The value increases, but the taxes don't. And as far as that 6.239, your current budget is $85,592,312. The rollback rate will cost you $118,567. That is chicken feed compared to your big budget. And as far as the departments, there are no cuts being made. Ms. Carty or the finance director, they found an overage in the Better Place Plan Fund. That Better Place Plan Fund is sitting there to be used for something. It's specified what it can be used for. They have taken money out of that to help offset the rollback. It's a no-brainer. Give the taxpayers a break. Even if it was only $5 a month or $5 a year, you all maybe don't understand, some of you all do, the poor people in this city are struggling. So please do the rollback. And let me tell you this, there's only one thing that the taxpayers care about. One thing in this world, and this is their taxes being lowered. They don't care what the reason is. If they see their tax bill going down and they see that their taxes are going to go down, that's all they care about. They don't care what the reason is. So I think it's a win-win. And as far as saving, there's places you can cut a little bit more money. Your special event funds, $30,000 for a class A, $20,000 for a B, $10,000 for a C. That's $60,000 right there. Your special events funds that you personally have, $5,000 each, that's $25,000. That would be $65,000 out of the 118. But we don't need to do that. We're taking it from Better Place Plan. So let's go with the rollback, help the citizens. It's win-win, isn't it? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing now none, I will now close the public comment section of this hearing. Finance Director, Ms. Chantel, please.
Mayor and Commission, the budget document before you, the fiscal year 25-26 final budget includes appropriations described earlier. Any additional adjustments to this budget can be made by motion at this time.
Commission, any adjustments to be made to the budget document must be made by motion now. If there are no adjustments, they should be made and approved by motion at this time. If there are no adjustments, rather, no motion need be made. Any adjustments? Okay, thank you. Ms. Pierre?
Mayor and Commission, Florida statutes require the commission to adopt the millage rates prior to adopting the related budget. As such, before you is resolution number 2025 R-124. This resolution includes the total general fund millage rate for fiscal year 2025-26 is 6.2397, which is lower than the 6.400 mils from fiscal year 24-25.
Madam Clerk? You want me to read the resolution? I can read it if you want. Yeah, do you want me to read it?
If you want to.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Putnam County, Florida, adopting the final operating millage rate for the purpose of levying of ad valorem taxes for the City of Palatka, Putnam County for fiscal year 2025-2026 and providing for scrivener's errors. City
I'll make a
Com-
motion that we approve resolution number 2025 R-124, adopting a final mill rate for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to open the floor to public comment. Is anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
Commissioner Gamble?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Yes.
Nay. The budget was adopted with the with the millage rate of 6.2397. We're back to finance, Ms. Chantel.
Mayor and Commission, subsequent to the Commission adopting the fiscal year 2025-26 millage rate, you must then adopt the corresponding fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Before you is Resolution 2025 R-125, which will adopt the final budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026 pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 200 Florida statutes.
A resolution of the city of Palatka adopting the final budget for fiscal year 2025-2026, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Move to approve resolution 2025 R-125, adopting the final budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll open the floor to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing no one, it's public comment. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Nay. The budget was approved with majority vote. We are concluding this public hearing. Ms. Pierre?
Mayor and Commission, the budget related business for this evening's public hearing is complete. Thank you to every department head that has assisted in the process.
This concludes the final trim public hearing. Thank you. Any further commissioner comments?
I have some comments.
Go
First,
ahead.
and the first one is dealing with the roll call. Can you be consistent on the roll call? Because on certain items, the roll, it has to change.
The best way to do a roll call is to change it every time, so it's not the same person.
I had never heard Commissioner Bourne be first.
Well, I guess I have. I've been
I'm
first
just
on
saying I
a
haven't.
couple,
But
yeah.
If it has to change, it changed, but it seems to be, could we be more random than if that's.
Right. And that's what I had asked too. Also, that you just, if you're gonna do it, but when I spoke with the clerk, she said, well, she go from top to bottom or bottom to the top. And I said, well, you need some randomness, along those lines if you want to do that, to be fair, because basically you're going in two different orders you got, and then you never really touch 3 and 4. So I think if we're gonna do it and be fair, I think we need to do it in that regard. I know in the past, they've always done it from seat 1, 2, 3, 4 in the mayor last. So that's the way it has always been done, and that's the way it was done, and then it changed. So that's just my 2 cents.
With that, do we have a motion to
Wait,
adjourn?
Mayor, I just have one quick
Go
thing.
ahead.
May we put on the commission agenda, since we did not necessarily have the discussion tonight, of how we would like to move forward with the budget for the next fiscal year.
The workshops, yeah. Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
Thank you.